Welcome to Real Battles, Real People. I'm your host, Christian Betancourt, and I have Mary here with me. Uh, Me and Mary have gone through life coaching. She was in my class. She had to drop out, and I'm gonna leave the rest with you, Mary. Please introduce yourself and so on.
Okay, well, thanks for inviting me, Christian. I'm glad to be here. I never did continue with life coaching. I was attracted to it because it seems like such a direct, intimate way to build relationships with people. I had been a fundraiser in my professional career. I'm now retired. And I admired the people who worked directly with other people and who made a difference in their lives. That was what I tended to raise money for, whether it was teachers primarily. So life coaching was really a very interesting journey. I did it for about 2 years. I took it very seriously. And I ended up stopping. I mean, one, because I was suffering from fatigue because I had just overcome cancer and had just gone through the chemo and radiation cycles. But mostly I realized something about myself, which was that I was more focused on what I could learn and more focused on my own performance than I really was on the client. That's not a good quality in a life coach. Life coaching is the opposite. It's really, one might say, wiping out or letting one's ego dissolve into the background and focusing just on the client. That wasn't my gift. I think I have other gifts, but that wasn't my particular gift in coaching. So I decided to stop, which I actually feel quite good about. Um, what else did you ask me, Christian?
No,
Ah,
well, we missed you definitely
oh,
in Lumia, and you know, you were fighting cancer again.
yeah.
What went through your mind when you first started fighting cancer?
Well, it was interesting because, and I am in the process of writing a book about this. Um, I didn't just have cancer. I had brain cancer. I had technically, um, or what everyone said is one of the most aggressive and fatal forms of cancer. And I have survived more than 2 years. I've been very grateful to have that result. It's because I had this incredible neurosurgeon about whom I've written, who who is one of the best in the country. His name is Dr. Daniel Oranger from NYU Langone. And he had, before he did my 8 hour surgery to remove the tumor, he had probably done 15,000 other surgeries. And he thinks he was able to remove 99% of the tumor. So without any harm to my brain. There are technical reasons why, but let me answer your question before I digress. When I found out I had brain cancer, I was interestingly very relieved that it wasn't disease. I had watched my mother, who passed maybe 20 years ago, at the also in her 80s, um, from Alzheimer's, and I had watched her deteriorate in the nursing home for 7 years. And Alzheimer's seemed like a cruel, cruel disease, especially for anyone who's had a vital life. So my worst fear was that I would end up with Alzheimer's in a nursing home that I couldn't afford, where no one really wants to visit. So when they said you have brain cancer, I thought, well, great, I don't have Alzheimer's. And I mean, that is truly what I thought, but I had lived a long life by then, a very interesting kind of unusual life, which I talk about in the book. And I wasn't afraid. I was just blessed to have absolutely no fear. I had done a lot of work in my life to heal from different trauma, to clean up relationships. So I wasn't afraid of dying. I'm still not afraid of dying. And where I am now is, as any brain cancer patients is, we're kind of in a limbo. Um, all the literature says it does come, glioblastoma does come back. Mine has not for a long time. I have an MRI every month. I have one tomorrow. So sure, I get anxious before the MRI, and I'm often tired, which was one of the first symptoms. But I feel really well, and I don't feel sick. So I face the prospect pretty much every day: is has it come back? And I was writing about this. Mostly, I feel curiosity rather than fear. Is okay, if it comes back, then what? Will I be able? I've been able to handle the diagnosis and the chemo and the radiation with a good amount of fortitude and acceptance. And I have a lot of curiosity about if the tumor should come back, what will it happen? Will I be able to handle that with fortitude and grace too? Uh, does it mean deterioration? I'm really okay, Christian, with whatever happens. And I think it's from the emotional work that I've done in my life to heal from different traumas. Um, I want to answer more succinctly, so you might want to ask me another question. But uh, oh, and
That's
I
what
want to
I
say
love
about
hearing.
life coaching, I still am coached by two of my former colleagues from Lumia who have also graduated and have gone on to open their practice, and their coaching has just made so much difference in my life. One of them has coached me a lot about the writing, has really encouraged me. She said, "You have great stories, you've got to do it," and kept bugging me. Have you? And also about keeping physically active, which is a challenge, both when you're old and when radiation has zapped your muscles. But these two coaches are just, I wouldn't say they saved my life, but they've really, my ongoing relationship with them really keeps my life worth living and productive. So that's my big shout out to life coaches. They hear you, they see you. It's just an incredible gift to work with a good coach.
Yeah, someone
Very,
actually told me life coaches are better than therapists.
they're very different than therapists. I mean, everything. I think everything helps. I also would say Alcoholics Anonymous, which I'm 21 years sober, is better than therapy. But they're all wonderful, and they all shine a light on different parts of ourself and put the focus. I guess what Alcoholics Anonymous does, and what Alcoholic Anonymous does, is it puts the focus on accountability and on responsibility, and on looking at yourself and at looking at your part in whatever situation is not going well. Um, which is really the only solution. It's never someone else's fault. It's never what's happening outside. Uh, it's never, oh, I got brain cancer. It, it's always, and it's internal. And when I first, the day after my surgery, and I actually rebounded really well, but I was talking to my AA sponsor and I said, well, now I can really have resentment against my family and I can be angry about all the stuff that they're not doing for me right now. This is the day after surgery. I still have the staples, 8 inches of staples in my head holding my brain together, holding my skull together. And she said, nah, not even now, not even now. You know, like the spiritual laws of accountability and taking responsibility and whatever phrase you use, owning your own side, cleaning your side of the street, taking responsibility, they apply all the time.
I
And
love I love
that's
listening.
a gift to
I don't
have
want to
someone
interrupt. I just want to listen to you.
say what?
I don't want to interrupt you. I
Oh,
just love
I'm a
listening to
talker.
you.
My husband says you go on and on and on. So
Well,
it, anything that makes you see and own your own part in your recovery and your own part in mental health. Even depression. I mean, at 80 years old, I have an opinion about everything, you know? Um, Depression is, yes, I had depression for a long time. I think it's medical. It's also very self-induced. It's full of self-pity. It's full of remunerative thoughts. It's something that can be handled not just with medication, which I support, but it can be handled by someone kind, helping shine a light on your thought processes, which are probably unhealthy and full of self-pity. These are just my opinions. As I say, I have an opinion on everything, but
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I want to say that your attitude towards cancer is impeccable. I can't describe it in more words, but it just I just you're awesome. Like you have such a positive attitude towards cancer and it doesn't even bother you. It's like, all right, I get cancer again. I'm fine with that.
well, Christian, I've been very, I would actually say blessed in this journey. And that's why I'm writing the book about it, because yeah, I don't really have the words. It's the realizations that have happened as a result of this are a gift. And I know that sounds so weird. Oh, yay, I had brain cancer. I had the worst brain cancer that you can have, but it was a gift. I mean, I wrote about a conversation, an hour-long conversation with my neurosurgeon the night before the surgery. And people would have to buy the book. We're sitting in a twilight room. But that conversation healed me as much as anything. This it's a long story. It's hard to describe, but I've been very blessed. I'm not particularly religious. I believe in God. I believe we have a soul. I don't believe particularly that God has been watching out for me. That's just not the way my faith works. But I've been really blessed. And the outpouring of support that has come as a result of getting brain cancer has healed a lot of childhood loneliness too. It's what I'm trying to write about because it's really quite remarkable. There also, with brain cancer, there's absolutely no pain. There never is any pain. And, there are headaches, there's fatigue, but there's no pain. So I never ever felt sick, even in the beginning before the diagnosis. I felt really tired, but I never felt sick. And this is also the thing with the kudos to this neurosurgeon. I was blessed and lucky that the placement of the tumor, which was large, it was the size of a lemon, they said, was in a part of the brain where it could be removed without any deficits. So that's my religious friends would say the grace of God. My AA friends would say it's a God shot, but it is what it is. I was lucky. He could take it all out, this lemon sized butterfly in the middle of my brain. I didn't lose speech. I didn't lose vision. I didn't lose motor control. That's the gift of him. Um, and also, 2 years before my surgery, this is, again, my friends would say this is a God shot. A new drug had been approved. It went through the clinical trials, which takes 10 years, $50 million. It is a fluid that the patient drinks the night before the surgery. And I think they maybe washed my hair with it or something also. And it illuminates the brain in such a way that it is really easy or much easier for the neurosurgeon to see the difference between the tumor and the healthy brain. And that was just approved 2 years before. And apparently not every hospital uses it yet, but I was at NYU Langone and they did. And they got 99% with, right after the surgery. you're back in your room, and the surgeon and his three fellows come in, and they test you, and you know right away whether you have any deficits. Can you squeeze their hands? Can you talk? Can you push against their hands with your leg? They knew right away I was fine, which is the grace of God and thanks to modern medicine and this incredible doctor.
Amen.
Amen. I mean, amen. And a shout out to Medicare, which, thank God I'm over 65. I qualified for Medicare. I had the slightly expensive one. This whole episode cost more than $3 million. Dollars. I haven't had to pay maybe 100. I mean, I'm a conservative Christian. You can edit this out if you want. I'm a conservative. And I'm saying Medicare is the best thing that ever happened. It really worked. I'm saying yay for Medicare, yay for the government. And I'm a conservative. I would never say yay for the government.
So let's go.
Okay.
Tell
Yeah,
us
you
more
want to
about your
edit that
book.
stuff out?
Yeah, tell us more about your book. What inspired you? What
Oh,
message do you want your readers to take away from this?
yeah. Um, I've asked myself, is there anything I want the readers to take away? I don't know. I've tried to ask myself what would make this interesting for readers. Um, the name of the book is Inflection Moments, and inflection in math is when a line the, a line changes its direction, and the curvature of your life changes because of a choice. You make a choice at an inflection moment. I also wanted to write about, so it's also for myself. So a lot of it is about healing some of the trauma of my childhood. There's a lot about um, growing up a wealthy girl in New York City on the Upper East Side. There's a lot about immigrants. There's a lot about what people have. It was such an interesting time. And I graduated high school in 1962. In 1969, in 1962, what happened after that? The sexual revolution, the hippie revolution, the war in Vietnam, the assassination of President Kennedy. I mean, so it is such an interesting, transformative time in our history. And I happen to live through it. So some of it is about that. Some of it is about the contrast between being brought up a wealthy, privileged girl in New York City's Upper East Side, which happens to be very, 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 very snobby. It's where Jackie Kennedy lived. It's where the Metropolitan Museum is. It's about all the immigrant traditions that my family did not continue because they came over, they were Irish Catholics, they were German Jews, Russian emigres. They had to leave. And I think this is true story of the United States. All these people had to leave their traditions behind in order to fit in, uh, which is really true. Like my great grandfather, Daniel Francis McGee, was an Irish Catholic who became a Baptist in 1900 so he could succeed. My relatives, the German Jews, left their Judaism behind so they could succeed in the United States in the 1850s. What prices have we all paid by them losing their identity and losing their traditions? So some of it is about that. We had no traditions in our family. Um, it's just it's a very personal book. What do I want people to take away? I hope the beauty of life. I hope the importance of living. Um, I hope healing some from their pain. Um, one of my uh, I'm very involved with Judaism. One of my Juda, Ju teachers once said, not all healing happens on a physical level. So some of it is about spirituality. At least that's what I hope. You know, writing is a challenge. And also, it's a challenge because the chemo destroyed the nerves in my left hand. So I can't type very well. So it's kind of torture. I have to dictate it in. The dictation works sometimes. I keep making mistakes on the keyboard and losing some of it. I mean, it's kind of torture to not be able to type, but it is what it is. My chemo, it destroys all the, this. I mean, it destroys the little cells or anything that reproduces quickly. So your digestive system, your hair. I lost quite a bit of hearing on my right side, but I'm here. It was all worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what chemo does. Well, I shaved my head before I had chemo.
You what? Oh yeah,
I,
you did.
I shaved my head.
Well, my hair is we. I mean, it pretty much. I mean, I had chemo. I had radiation. I lost as much from the radiation, I think, which was all focused on the right side. Um, yeah, and I'm older. You lose your hair when you're older too. So I look in the mirror and I go, oh my God. I tell people this fairly often. I look in the mirror and I'm hoping that I'll look different, that the age spots will be gone and my hair will be normal again. And I go, nah, it's still the same. I'm still old, but it is what it is. There is so much, a sense of humor is a great thing. There is so much stuff on Facebook for women about don't bank on your looks because they're going to go away. And they do. And chemo and radiation do not help your looks very much.
I gained like 37 pounds in 2 weeks.
You gained 37 pounds.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody recognized me. I was at a bar and people were looking at me. I'm like, you don't know who I am? And they're like,
wow. Oh, I never gained any weight. That's interesting. From the
yeah. It
chemo you
was,
did.
it was the steroids.
Oh, it was the steroids. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
It
Oh,
was all
yes.
water weight.
Oh,
And
yeah. Those steroids were something else. And the, I thought it was as hard it was really hard to get off the steroids. I took them for 2 or 3 weeks. And when I had to stop them, I was so depressed because, they're such a boost to energy. Yeah.
yeah, the radiation ended up damaging my pituitary gland. So now I have
Yeah.
thyroid, and then from there, like it's like it sends a message that it doesn't even send a message uh through the brain to the thyroid. So um,
Mhm.
that
Have those functions come back?
no, no,
No.
no,
Wow.
non-thyroid medicine for life.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but I used to always have a sense of humor with with brain cancer. I used to call my tumor Timmy the tumor, and I was like, Timmy, you gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to go, man. You got to go.
You gotta
You
go.
got, the surgeon said to me that, he had three assistants with him, the three best medical students following him in his path. And he said they, when they opened it up, he said, "Oh my God, we've got to get rid of this." You know, I wish I had a video of that, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What is the most like emotional part of the chapter of your story that you have written so far?
Um, the most emotional part was definitely, I mean, to explain the why this conversation with a neurosurgeon, I'd have to read you the essay, but long story short, I grew up, privileged, Upper East Side, got into Harvard, dropped out of Harvard because I had so much emotional problems. And dealing with that all my life of the lost potential, the depression and other trauma had caught up with me and I just couldn't function. So this is why this conversation with this brilliant man, what I try to capture in this essay is we were sitting there in the twilight the night before my surgery, the most brilliant neurosurgeon in the country, and he's talking to me like I'm his equal. And that conversation heals the shame that I have felt of never having been good enough because I couldn't live up to my potential. I didn't graduate. All the all my colleagues. That's you can hear some of the bad thinking, but it was just that experience of sitting with him in the twilight the night before my surgery. I'm in the shower cap because my hair is covered, for the because of the fluorescent fluid, and being treated as such an equal. We talked about everything. We talked about Judaism. We talked about life. He grew up in the same neighborhood I did. It was just a resolution to a lot of trauma. So that is the most emotional part. I didn't have emotions about the cancer itself. I just didn't. Um, Mostly because it meant I wouldn't have Alzheimer's, I think. I mean, probably the tumor will come back. I probably will die of this. That's better than what my mother went through. 7 years, more and more and more deterioration. Spending all that money in the nursing home. I'd go visit her. I wasn't living that close. My other sisters were, but I'm your daughter. There was nothing, nothing, nothing there. That and seeing the patients in the nursing home who'd had strokes, who had to be strapped to their chairs, or who'd had strokes and who'd lost the ability to speak clearly, but could still moan and groan. I mean, I don't know, there aren't words to describe what it's like to see that. And to realize I'm probably going to be spared. The irony of all ironies the tumor will never come back and I'll die of Alzheimer's anyway. I would be so pissed off if that happened. But um, I think that was why I have no fear of the end. I've also cleaned up my life, made the amends, and that's from Alcoholics Anonymous. I made a lot of messes in my life. I was bad to a lot of people, or selfish, self-centered a lot of times. And I've made apologies to those people as much as I could. So that takes away a lot of fear of dying.
Yeah.
I
I,
have a great marriage. I'm blessed. We made it. You don't always know if you'll make it. We made it 35 years. So I have a lot of gratitude, Christian.
yeah. The fear of not dying.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder whether it was my experience in combat or my experience with cancer that makes me process how this these experiences have shaped me to be fearful, like have no fear. I know that
Hmm.
my time will come, and when it comes, then it comes. There's nothing else you can dispute about that.
Yeah. And I think maybe some people say to me, "You're so strong," and I think it's not strength. It just is the way it is. Um, it just is that way. Yeah. It. I pray. I have a spiritual life, but I cannot say that I've been touched by the grace of God. It feels like it just is the way it is. I'm glad I'm not 25 facing cancer. Um, I'm not, I'm 80 years old. I have two grandchildren. I've lived a life. I mean, I was a hippie in Big Sur, I was in, I lived by the side of a stream in Big Sur in 1969. If you live your, I guess that's a takeaway. But it's so easy to say, live your life, take your risks. Of course, you'll screw up. So what? You'll learn something from everything. You'll learn something from everything, and we all screw up.
You're giving me chills. I
Yeah,
just got a hands on my heart.
I had to write, oh my gosh, I was such a brat. I mean, this I learned in AA. I had to write letters of apology to all my bosses. I'm not kidding. I had to
You
write,
screwed.
and in AA, what's beautiful, it's called the ninth step, you make amends. You can't just say, I'm sorry. You have to say specifically what you did. I'm sorry I talked behind your back. I'm sorry I sent emails around saying bad things about you. Or to boyfriends, I'm sorry I was unfaithful. I had no idea. I mean, some of looking at one's past life is so freeing. That's why I recommend any process that encourages that because some of those actions are appalling. I mean, really appalling. I did that and you know what? I did that and I had absolutely no idea that it was selfish. I had no idea that I was self-centered. I had no idea that I was blind. I just had no idea. But I did that. Oh, it's a great process. It's very life affirming. Very, very life affirming. And in AA, we say you can make a living amends. Um, if a marriage continues, every day you have a chance to make a living amend to your spouse. That's a great thing, I think.
Wow, you love me at all. I love listening to you.
You shouldn't be. I mean, I
I
go,
love it.
why? It's just,
You share amazing stories.
oh yeah. Well, that's what my girlfriend, my coach said. You've got to start telling these stories to people. And so this is another story I tell. So I graduate in 1962 from this very elite private girls' school. There we all are in our white dresses, and it's 1962. In 1969, the smartest girl in our class had died from alcoholism. A boyfriend I had at the time had been drafted, stepped on a landmine and was dead in Vietnam. I was sitting by the side of a stream in 1969 smoking dope with a guy named Krishna, naked by the side of the Big Sur River smoking dope with Krishna. He said heavy a lot. I mean, just the the contrast of that juxtaposition in society was such a powerful time, the 60s. Um, how lucky to have gone through it. How much did that impact people that we don't even know? Um, it's so it's just so interesting.
I definitely want to have you back on
Okay,
when
sure.
when you're done with your book. Your book is done.
Well, it's
How,
not no,
how-
it's not done. It's not
I
done.
know, but when it's done, I want you back on.
Oh, okay. It
Wh-
has to be
wh-
edited. Oh, I hope that the writing is moving. I hope that the writing is universal. I would love if it gets published. I'm just finishing a book by a brilliant neurosurgeon who did die himself of cancer. It's called When Breath Becomes Air. It's by Paul Kalanithi. And he was brilliant and he was a writer. I mean, he has pedigrees up the wazoo, but his book is about realizing that he has cancer. He has been a neurosurgeon oncologist, and it's about the end of his life. And it's beautiful. I mean, I would love if my book gets published. Wouldn't that be awesome? But who knows? It's good to write
You
and
will.
to think and to feel something creative.
It will. So,
Okay.
closing now, what would be? a message that you would want to leave with the with our audience today, especially with the battle of your own?
I would say self-pity is the most destructive thing you can do. Forget about self-pity. If you can become, this is what helped me. If you can become aware of what you're saying to yourself in the throes of your self-pity, you've got to let that go because number, you've got to let that go. It's going to destroy you. It's probably all lies. I wouldn't say wake up and smell the coffee, but I would say, get on with your life. We say in AA, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. So if my self-pity is that, oh, I dropped out of an Ivy League school, I've never done anything, I didn't make $1 million like everyone else I know. Well, may I swear? I won't. Um, Go out and blankety blank, do something. Get off the self-pity train. It will destroy you, and it's a lie. Um, that I think is and I think a coach can help you look at that. A therapists, I don't think so much. Sometimes they sympathize with you. They say, "Oh yeah, that boss really was a bitch." No, the boss wasn't a bitch. You were a brat. You were unbelievably subversive and self-entitled and self-righteous. Like, just get off the pity pot. Move. Take a risk. I think that, yeah, the self-pity is the worst in the world. And blaming someone else is the worst. It's not your husband's fault. It's not your friend's fault. You had a part. Is that a good message?
That's an amazing message.
That's
Well,
what I had to learn. I had to learn.
well, I want to thank you, Mary. It's been a delight to have you on
Oh,
my
thank you.
podcast. And this is Real Battles, Real People. I'll see you next Wednesday for another episode.
Yeah.
Take care.
And my blessings to all the veterans out there. Um, Thank you for your service, and you have fought the real fight. And if I had money, I would give it all to the Tunnels for Towers. I would do anything I could. Um, Thank you for your service, and I can't even begin to imagine. Um, but you have my heart.